I have been not so patiently waiting for my 5 to 100 pound adjustable dumbbells from Alibaba to arrive. And I'm happy to say that this week that finally came. And today we are going to be putting these up to the test. We are going to be doing a detailed review and breakdown of how these adjustable dumbbells perform. Are they worth considering? And we're going to cover the 5 metrics we've been covering for these reviews. We're going to be talking about adjustment speed, handle quality, the overall training experience with them, the durability, and then the overall value. Let's go ahead and dive into today's video. Before we fully jump into today's review, what's up everyone? My name's Dylan. This is Plates and Profits, where I help you build your home gym for less. We've got a bunch of other exciting Alibaba products that are on the way, and I'm going to be posting those reviews as soon as those come in as well. So be sure to subscribe. Let's jump back to the review. Before we fully dive in, if you're not sure what I'm talking about when I say Alibaba, it is a wholesale app where you can work directly with manufacturers, where they can send you dumbbells. And this is actually the 4th Alibaba adjustable dumbbell set that I've got. If you want to see the ordering process and what that looks like, check out this video up here. Essentially, you're going to be getting dumbbells that are very similar to high-end brands that you know here, like Rep Fitness, Fringe Sport, Bolt Fitness, but for the manufacturer's price. That does come with a heavy shipping fee, but it's still probably going to be a little cheaper in the long run. These dumbbells are probably going to look pretty familiar to you. They definitely strike a pretty strong resemblance to the Dumbbell style. These have that twist style handle that has become really popular. And probably the biggest difference here from that 5 to 80 Dumbbell set is these adjust all the way up to 100 pounds. There's some differences between this and their S series. Maybe some cons, but maybe also some pros. We'll get into that as we get into the nitty-gritty of the review. Our first category is going to be adjustment speed. And for this test, we go from 45 pounds down to 20 pounds. Now, one big advantage right off the bat with these versus things like the Rep times Pep-In or Rep Quick Draws is there's going to be no adder weights for these. So you can adjust both with just one hand really quickly. And we won't even compare them to the Ironmasters or Eisenlinks because these will be on a whole nother stratosphere just as far as speed goes. All in all, it's going to take you about 3 to 4 seconds to adjust from that specific weight range, but just in general, it's going to be very fast. Just as far as pros go, the adjustment speed is going to be one of the biggest ones for these. I personally really like the twist style handle, adjustment style. There's something that's just really intuitive about it. It's just a snap of a wrist. It works really great for drop sets. And not just that, just adjusting from weight to weight, it's really seamless. We'll get more into that during the training experience. The only time where these are going to take a little longer is when you're going from, say, 10 pounds up to 70 pounds. So, which doesn't happen all that often. But let's just say, for instance, it was your push day, you were doing bench press to start your workout, but you wanted to do some external rotations before you started. So you set these down to 5 pounds, which is really awesome that they go all the way down to 5. I know some start at 10, but for things like shoulder external rotations, 5 is a great starting weight. Also, if you're a trainer and you have an elderly clientele, people who are just getting into weightlifting, there's some really great advantages to being able to go all the way down to 5. So you started with those external rotations, you hammer out a set of that, and then you're going all the way up to, we'll just say 50 for your warm-up set on bench press. That is quite a few rotations. It's still going to take under 5 seconds though. And what's nice is even if you go at a leisurely pace and not trying to go as fast as possible, it's still going to take under 10 seconds. And there's just zero thinking involved. It's just rotating the wrist, super simple, which I appreciate, which brings that adjustment speed score to a 10 out of 10. These are the fastest ones that I've tested, and you could say with the quick draws or the Rep times Pep-In, it's going to be faster if you're going from 5 to 100. But again, I would just argue, when are you doing that? Even if you're using the example I'm talking about, you're still going to do some warm-up sets in between. So these are always going to be the fastest. 10 out of 10. Next, let's talk about the handle quality. And right off the bat, let's dive into the knurling and how does that knurl feel? This was one of the biggest gripes I had with the first set of Alibaba dumbbells I ordered. The knurl was there for you emotionally, but it wasn't there for actually offering support physically. It was very passive. I felt the same about the Ironmaster knurl actually as well. And I think these fall in line really nicely in between rep times Pepin, really aggressive. Same with Eisenlink, pretty aggressive. These are just a tad below the Eisenlinks, I'd say. There's definitely a pretty solid bite on these. I feel like I have a good grip, and I'm gonna give them a 2 out of 5 on the Knurl rating. I always like to just clarify with this, 2 out of 5 isn't bad. 2 is just the overall aggressiveness. I think I would want it a tad more aggressive than this, but I am definitely happy using them. I wanna say the handle is 32 millimeters in diameter. I would like it to be a tad beefier than that. I really like the Eisenlink at 35 millimeters, but once again, not bad. Then as far as the handle length, it is a 5-inch handle, which is on the smaller side. If you compare that to a lot of the other dumbbells I've looked at, most of them range anywhere from 6 up to even 7. I wanted to say Ironmaster was 7 or 8, which was too long for me. The 5-inch handle length works perfectly for me. You don't have to guess where you're gripping. There's just kind of one spot you can grab and it works. If you have larger hands, you'd probably want something a little bit bigger. It might start getting a little tight for you, so that's something I would keep in mind. But it's just what I want. It's really good. So as far as the score goes on the handle quality, I'm gonna give this a 9 out of 10. I'm docking it a 0.5 point for the overall Knurl. I'd want just a tad more aggressive, but I do think this is also a nice in between where I don't think my wife hates some of the more aggressive knurling, and I don't think she'd mind this. I think she wouldn't say anything about it. So it's a nice in between. If multiple people in the household need to use this set, it's not gonna be a deal breaker for some of them. And then I'm also docking it a 0.5 point just because, as I touched on, the 5-inch handle length for some people might just be a tad too narrow. And especially since these do go to 100, there's probably gonna be some beefy guys who wanna use these with big hands, and I've got these dainty hands. So works for me, might be a tad too small for others. Our next category is the overall training experience. And probably the most important, because if you don't enjoy the training experience, you don't enjoy using the dumbbells. And I've gotta say, these really shine for me in this category. Let's start with the noise level. If you've watched any of my videos, you know a noisy dumbbell drives me crazy. And if you just listen here, there's hardly any noise. You can barely hear it. There's a slight rattle to it, but it's definitely not bad. Another big pro to these is just the overall size of them. They're fairly compact compared with a lot of their competitors. I've reviewed the Rep Quick Draws and the MX Select 55s, and those things are both extra long. The weight's at 60 and 55 pounds on those respectively. It's about the same size as these with 100 pounds. The first Alibaba set that I got that went up to 90 was about 2 inches longer as well. I also know the Dumbbell S5100s, their 5 to 100 pound set is also 2 inches longer than these. Hey, and 2 inches is a lot. Don't let anyone convince you that those 2 inches don't matter. It really does make a big difference as you're starting to do heavier presses. I found that really annoying with my Alibaba set. I haven't had the Dumbbell 5100s personally, but just based on how I felt about the longer set with those, I think it would bug me. And just with adjustable dumbbells, that's something you kind of gotta live with. It's great saving all the space here, but sometimes they do feel a little bulky. But that's not really the case with these. The diameter is also fairly small. And then I really think it needs to be said too, what's really nice is there's a cageless design here, which just the overall experience when you're grabbing them, the weights can sit at your side and go right in between your legs where it just feels nice rather than bumping into a cage like you are with the Rep times Pepin and Quick Draws and Powerblocks, and the list goes on and on. So cageless design, it really feels pretty close to a dumbbell. If someone saw you working out with them, they'd know it's a dumbbell. They aren't gonna look and see a kitchen appliance like kind of Powerblocks. No shade to Powerblocks, fantastic dumbbells, but they do kind of look like you're curling toasters. As I touched on earlier, with how quickly these adjust, it makes it really easy for things like drop sets. I'm a big fan on last set of, we'll say lateral raises, we're doing 30s, probably too much. I'm swinging, but you know, I get to 10 and I set them down and I twist down to 20. And then I bang those out until I'm at failure as well. Go down to 15s, get those. It's really nice for things like that and drop sets. It's also fantastic for things like supersets. Let's say you're doing curls, you're doing 30s. Once you finish that, you're gonna lay back into a set of skull crushers. But you need to drop that to 25. Really easy to drop those in, twist down, and knock out that set as well. Some cons for the training experience, and we're going to get into this in our durability category, but they are definitely a little more of a delicate dumbbell. And with that, when you're re-racking the weights, you kind of got to be gentle with them, make sure you're not dropping them. So those are just things to keep in mind. I'd also note that the little dovetails that protrude out are almost a tad sharp. I had one set from Alibaba where I was literally cutting my legs and I didn't know what it was from at first, and I realized that it was the dumbbells. These aren't quite like that, but the little dovetail does protrude out a bit. Overall, I've loved training with these. I've had one because Alibaba messed up my initial order for almost a month and a half, 2 months, I think. And I've been training with these for the past week and a half or so. And I'm gonna give them a 9.5 on my training experience thus far. Could be subject to change, maybe even go up, but it could also come down in a couple months. I can update y'all, but for the most part, love these. All right, the category some of you have been waiting for, and that is the durability category, which is tough for me to give a score because I haven't had them very long. And let's be honest, durability, are we talking dropping these? Because if we drop these, I don't know if they can handle it. But that's not what adjustable dumbbells are for. So if we're talking durability, are we talking if you're being a little rough with them? It's tough to know what we're talking about because I think if you treat these, what's the word? I don't want to say gently, but with care, if you're thoughtful with them, I think they're going to be just fine. The things that I would flag with them are the dovetails that I mentioned. They don't feel the most secure. They are made out of plastic, and I could see these pieces breaking off. That's something I'd have to work with the supplier on, see if they could ship me some replacements. They do come with a 1-year warranty as well. And I didn't ask about if that covers drops. I don't drop my dumbbells. I know sometimes you might fail on a bench press or something to tweak a muscle and you have to bail on the set. And if that's the case, I don't think these would survive. It's almost like the speed with the Ironmasters and Eisenlink. If that's something you're prioritizing, those aren't for you. And if durability is something you really value and prioritize, these probably aren't for you. Go with the Rep Times Pepin or the Powerblocks or the Ironmaster Eisenlinks. But if you're hearing me talk and you think also, hey, I don't drop adjustable dumbbells, I can treat them with care, and you really like the twist style handle, the fast adjustment speed, the no cage, these might be for you. So durability is tough for me to score. Overall, I'm gonna give it I'm in between 6 and 7. I'm sorry, working on my dad jokes. So I think I'm just gonna go with a 6.5 here. And it's tough because I think on one hand, I think that's too harsh because again, if you treat them well, I think they're gonna last just fine. But then if you're thinking if you did a drop test with them, it would break. So they should be a 4 out of 10, but we'll stick with 6.5. Let me know if you think that's too high, too low. Give me a reason in the comments. And the last category we are going to be covering is value. And for me, I'm a big fan of getting something if I feel like I'm getting a good deal on it. And these really excel, although that does come with some caveats. First, let's talk about the price. Depending where you're located, you can get these dumbbells shipped to you for anywhere from $600 to $700 on Alibaba. And the caveats I alluded to, you are going to have to find a supplier that sells them. Make sure that they have good reviews and have been on Alibaba for a while. Those are some of my recommendations. And then just talking through the process is a little more complicated than the simple add to cart, place order that you can get with most other adjustable dumbbells that are sold locally here in the United States. Overall though, I've always really enjoyed the process of ordering on Alibaba. But again, I'm a deal hunter. It's what I like to do. And then of course, you're going to have to wait quite a while, a month to 2 months for shipping. And the shipping cost is always really high, anywhere from $200 to $300. So if you're doing the math in your head, be sure to factor that in before you're celebrating your $300 dumbbells you're purchasing. And let's just take a look at the current market for what you're going to pay for an adjustable dumbbell set that goes from 5 to 100 pounds. And let's start with the most similar comparable adjustable dumbbell, which is that Dumbbell S5100. And those are actually kind of tough to find the exact price. I see them anywhere listed from 1,000 all the way up to 1,500. So you're saving quite a bit of money by getting these Alibaba ones. Powerblocks 100s, entry level price is right around 1,000 as well. Of course, those rep times pep in. I want to say it's anywhere from 12 to 1300. I'd have to double check to verify. Then Ironmasters and Eisenlink, you don't really have a direct comparison just because those both start at 75 and 80. And then you have to purchase all the way up to 120 for their heavy kit. But those will probably settle right in around $1,000. Eisenlink's probably a bit cheaper. I bet it's closer to what you pay for these, that 700 price range. Eisenlinks are also a fantastic value. The other thing to take into account with value is durability does play a factor in here. And especially they do say they offer those 1-year warranties. Who knows exactly how that's going to work out, but that is going to dog the score just a tad. Also a side note, if you are looking for a set of these dumbbells and you're located in Arizona, I'm gonna be selling some of these locally here, so feel free to reach out in the comments. And that brings us to a value score of a 9 out of 10. You really can't go too wrong with 5 to 100 pounds. For $700, we're just gonna call it that. It's anywhere from $300 to $600 cheaper than anything else on the market. So really good value. You are just having to jump through some hurdles to get them. So that is going to bring our total score up to 44 out of 50, which is the highest scored dumbbell that I've reviewed. Now, all these ratings are subjective, and these really check all the boxes that I'm looking for in an adjustable dumbbell, and that might differ from you, and that's okay. It's all about finding the ones that you're going to use, the ones that get you excited to train with, and that's what's important. These just have the best blend of speed, functionality, and just overall enjoyment. And I think they look pretty cool. And once again, if it's gonna get you excited to get in the gym, train hard, that's the most important thing. We'll quickly touch on who these are for and who they're not for. Who they're for, I really think it's a pretty wide array of people who they're for. The fact that they can go all the way to 5, all the way up to 100, really checks the boxes of beginners, newbies, really trained individuals in the gym, elderly people. They're for everyone, honestly. Great dumbbells. Who they're not for, someone who's gonna drop their weights, someone who values durability, maybe teenagers that aren't supervised. I said the quick draws would be perfect for unsupervised teenagers. These wouldn't be. You'll come home and they're gonna be broken on the floor, so maybe not teenagers. That's my notes. I'll probably do a whole separate video on this, but just figured I'd announce it here. I've had really fun working with different suppliers, finding manufacturers that are going to work with me, help me out. And that's why I've decided to start selling these locally here in Arizona. And I started my own brand. It's called Minor Key Iron. If you can't tell by some of the posters in my room, alternative emo music has always been something that's really important to me. Oftentimes in training, music has been the thing that's kept me going, pushing me through. Hence my little moniker here, Fueled by Sad Songs. And I really think both music and lifting weights are things that can really get people out of dark places, which is kind of the goal of the brand. I'm going to be donating portions of the profits to suicide prevention and also the Boys and Girls Club. I believe that if we got our children more active, I think it would really help society as a whole. So I just wanted to announce that I'm excited to, start selling these and hopefully help make a difference in our world. Looking forward to all these shipments that are coming in and deliveries and orders and videos. I'm gonna be having a review of the Kodiak belt squat attachment fairly soon, probably next week. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let me know in the comments if you disagree with me. Let me know what your adjustable dumbbell of choice is, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.